Stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet. Before we go ahead and get started, we got to make sure the tubes are working before we start rambling off here and getting into the good stuff. Let's make sure it is alive. It is. That's great. We can go ahead and get started. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gov't. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about another attorney. You may know him as Lin Wood. Yeah, we had some conversations about Lin Wood some time ago, actually. We talked about Rittenhouse here a lot. We talked about the 2020 election shenanigans a lot. Lin Wood was highly involved in both of those incidents. And it appears, my friends, that he has flipped on Trump. Now, I know he denies that. And we're going to go through this. I originally thought, well, maybe, he could be kind of a neutral witness. He could be somebody that didn't give anything useful to Fani, and Fani just decided not to do anything about it. But of course, we know he has not been charged. I went back and pulled up the actual new report on whether he got votes to be charged. And so we'll refresh our recollection on that one. But we also have Big Fani's motion, because Fani is the one who's alleging that he's going to be there as a state witness. And of course, if he hasn't been charged and other people have been charged, very curious as to what he's going to say. So we've got his reaction. He is denying this. He's saying, no, I didn't flip. I'm just a neutral witness. So I went over to his Telegram. And what we'll see is his reaction. So I do have a couple clips from him. I actually went to his account to see what he had to say about it. And we've got his response. So we'll get into all of that. We've also got Ray Epps and his documents. Those have dropped. He, of course, took a plea deal by Zoom, and we now have what the court published are his documents. We've got the plea letter that was sent over from the Department of Justice over to Ray Epps and his lawyers. We've also got the statement of facts, and it's a bit of a longer document, 14 pages, but it shows all the things that Ray Epps did. And by gosh, he did not get charged for a lot of the same other conduct that a lot of other J6ers got charged with. So we've got that, the statement of facts. We'll also take a look at the documents that were submitted for his release conditions. And so I have those pulled up. And then we'll also take a look at his next sentencing date. So the big question, of course, is whether or not he is going to be serving any jail time. And he'll come back for sentencing in December. And we've got that clip from Thomas Massie where he's saying that maybe Merrick Garland perjured himself in the response to questions about federal informants being there at the January 6th event. So we'll go into all of that. And then lastly, to wrap things up, we've got another chat here. Thanks, V. We've got another segment here about Elvis Chan, who is getting a second subpoena. And of course, we'll see what that says. This is coming over from the Judiciary Committee, and they are walking us through the timeline of the last failed attempt to have an interview. And so we'll see what happened. Why did this not happen the last time it was supposed to happen? Elvis Chan was ghosting Congress. And then we'll wrap this up with a clip from Representative Spartz. We always like to hear from her. And so, as you can see, my friends, we've got a lot to get to today, and we are going to get into it. If you want to be a part of the show, the best way you can do that is by joining us over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, where we have an amazing community. We had a members-only morning stream this morning. It was a lot of fun. We would love it if you joined us at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And we also have Saturday shows. We have a lot of great stuff that goes on over there, and it's a lot of fun. So come and check us out, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We've also got our brand new website, robertgovea.com. If you click over here, you can fill out this form right here, get instant access to not only the mind map, everything I'm about to go through, but also to our daily newsletter. So every day in your inbox, you'll get these reports, everything we talk about, just delivered right to your inbox. And I like that thumbnail. That's a good one. Look at that. That's supposed to be Hunter. Isn't that fun? Yeah. And Nancy Pelosi ripping up the Constitution. So, all right. So you can check that out, robertgovea.com, to get all the latest. And if you don't want to watch the full video, you can read the report on the video. You can see, summarize the whole video, and it will give you a nice update on what is going on. We also, before we get into it, want to say what's up to our amazing sponsors and our friends over at fieldofgreens.com, because we all would like to lose some of those leftover pandemic pounds, wouldn't we? But we're all sick of the ads for the weight loss pills and the fad diets. You know, we've all been there. We've all done that, and we know they just don't work. But you know what does? Eating 5 healthy servings of fruit and vegetables every day. You do that, and the weight would probably just fall right off. But look, I know fruit and vegetables, not a fan. Who's got time to prepare that stuff every day? I don't. Instead, let's talk about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula. Specific fruits and vegetables that you're not going to find in any other product. We know that proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you burn calories faster and lose weight a healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you're going to look and feel healthier fast, but the greater proof is going to come at your next checkup when your doctor says, woo, you've lost weight. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. And so let's get you started. Go on over to fieldofgreens.com. Don't forget to enter code Robert when you check out. That way you can save 15% off at the checkout. And let's not forget, the vegetables want to be eaten. That's why they're here. Look how colorful and happy they look. I mean, they're just like, eat me, popping out of the ground. You don't even have to feel bad about it. You can double down on your Field of Greens at fieldofgreens.com with code Robert. All right. And now, let's get to it. Ray Epps took a plea deal, and he did it very conveniently through Zoom. A lot of other J6 defendants, they got convicted after they were thrown in solitary confinement, thrown in the DC gulags for many months or years. And Ray Epps had none of that going on for him. Now, in fact, he got to just kind of rummage around the country in what I think is a multi-million-dollar RV and just really enjoying the life. We had people like Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney and others saying, this guy's a hero, this guy's just incredible, and they couldn't find any fault with him, even though all other J6ers were deemed to be insurrectionists and the end of American democracy. But for some reason, Ray Epps got a very nice pass. But he did take a plea deal. No FBI raids, nothing like that. Just hopped on his phone and just, hey, it's Ray Epps here, Judge. How are you? And Judge is like, hey, Ray, good to see you. And then, they went through the whole proceeding. But we're going to go through it. We've got the documents that were entered in on the record, including the statement of facts, which walks us to, with pictures, exactly what happened at the Capitol. And we'll see what else the release documents look like. We've got a clip from Thomas Massie. And then we'll learn really what the big question is. Is Ray Epps going to even serve a day in jail? Is he going to go for a month or a day or 6 months or 18 years or something like his Oath Keeper friend, Stuart Rhodes, when they used to hang out together? He's going to prison for 18 years. Is he going to get 18 years at all? No, of course he's not. So the sentencing is going to come out. We'll see what that looks like. But first, how did this all unpack itself? Well, the government, they're the people who offer the plea deal. And so they are the individuals who sent this letter. And they sent it on September 6th, a couple weeks ago, coming out of Matthew Graves' office. We're very familiar with this guy. 11 pages, and it is a plea deal offer, right? This is the other one. James Ray Epps, case number 2023 R0PEND. Now that's curious. R0 penned. R0 penned. Huh, that's curious. Wondering if there's any taxonomy to this. R0, is this the first case? It's a pending case. So this is a plea deal. All right. Huh. So anyways, they say, hey, Mr. Ray Epps, your lawyer, his name is Edward Ungarski, says, dear Mr. Ray Epps' lawyer. This is coming from the government prosecutors, the Department of Justice. It's 11 pages. We'll hit the highlights on it, but look who signed off on this one. Matthew Graves himself, the district attorney out of Washington, D.C. He's been really taking the lead on all the J6 prosecutions. So he got out of bed and they dragged him out here for this one. And we have not seen a lot of his signatures on other documents like the Proud Boys cases or the Oath Keepers cases, but he'll get up for Ray Epps. U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves, very familiar with him. So this is the letter that he sends over to Ray. He says, all right, to your lawyers, this letter is the full and complete plea offer for Ray Epps, your client. Here's the deal. Your client, despite being on the FBI's most wanted list, despite being on Capitol grounds, arguably inside the Capitol, that's my interpretation of his testimony with the House so-called Select Committee, despite having his hand on a sign that was being pushed violently into officers, despite being there the day before, screaming, into the Capitol, despite being there during the initial breach with Ryan Samsel, all these things. These attorneys from the DOJ, they just came out and said, here's what we want you to do. Plead guilty to one count, misdemeanor count, disorderly conduct, right? Like, it's like nonsense. This is the catch-all charge anywhere you look. It doesn't matter whether it's a federal case or even a local case. Okay, disorderly conduct is basically anything. Were you disorderly? Yeah. Was it disturbing the peace of others? Yeah. All right, there you go. Were you in a restricted building? Yeah. Okay, it's like nothing, right? Which is why his penalty, as we're going to see, is so minor. So they say your client understands that the maximum, okay, not what Ray Epps is going to get, but he has to know what he could get, 1 year in prison, $100,000 fine, supervised release no more than 1 year. That is the maximum cap, okay, just based under the charge. And he's definitely not going to get that. We'll see here in a minute why. So they say this is what you could get. You've got to be aware of this, just so you know. In addition, your client is going to pay a $25 fee. Oh my gosh, $25. And your client understands that he's got to make those payments. Your client also agrees, that they're going to allow Ray Epps, the government is going to have access to Ray Epps' social media accounts operated by your client for statements and postings in or around January 6th, prior to sentencing. So we're going to be able to see exactly what he's got and what he posted prior to sentencing. Factual stipulations, they say also, your client agrees to everything in the statement of facts, which we'll read through. In consideration of this plea, your client will not be further prosecuted criminally by this office for conduct set forth in the statement of the offense. Okay. So now this is very curious because one issue that I have with this entire operation is that Ray Epps was a very interesting person that many people wanted to hear from during the two biggest trials in the January 6th proceedings that we talked about here. One was the Oath Keepers, the other was the Proud Boys. And the Proud Boys, we spent time when the defense was trying to subpoena Ray Epps to be here. They actually went to the judge, Your Honor, we need him to come and testify. We believe that he could exonerate our clients. And Ray Epps was roaming around the country. Nobody could find the guy. They tried to serve him. He was locking up his ranch out here in Queen Creek, Arizona, and nobody could get a hold of this guy. And so now, after the Oath Keepers, their trial has come and gone. They've all been sentenced. Stuart Rhodes is going to prison for 18 years. After the Proud Boys trials have come and gone, Enrique Tarrio has got 22 years. We've got a big problem now because both of those cases are closed. And they didn't get the opportunity to have any conversations with Ray Epps at all because he was gone. Once they're closed, guess what? Boom, the information comes out. Ray Epps is conveniently now available to testify. Or, I'm sorry, he's available, but they don't need him to testify because the time for testimony is over in those other cases. And now we know that there are other trials that are still forthcoming. And the question is on those other trials, will Ray Epps now be available? Because Ryan Samsel, for example, he does have a trial that has not been executed yet. And Ryan Samsel was the guy that Ray Epps was whispering to. We'll see here in the statement of facts in a minute. But Samsel, if his trial goes and he wants to subpoena Ray Epps, is Ray Epps going to come? Or is Ray Epps going to be fleeing around the country again, not available for testimony? And they asked the judge, Judge, please give us alternative service. Let us post this in a newspaper. Let us just post this at his residence. We know he's there or whatever. He knows that we want him. But the judge said, sorry, can't let you do that. You got to go physically serve him. So is Ray Epps going to go back on the run again? Because if Ray Epps is now brought back in to testify, how can he possibly invoke his Fifth Amendment right against testifying if he's immune? His plea deal says he's going to be immune. You're not going to be further criminally prosecuted for any of this conduct. So you'll be immune. So you should be able to talk, Ray. So you shouldn't be on the run anymore. So when Ryan Samsel sends you a subpoena, you better be available, buddy boy. After the entry of this plea, your client will not be charged with any nonviolent criminal offense in Federal District of Columbia. However, we reserve the right, if your client committed or commits such a crime of violence prior to the execution of this agreement. Obviously, he's not going to do that. So your client understands that the sentence in this case is going to be determined by the court. Here's what we're offering at a base level. We say the government agrees that we're going to grant you a 2-level reduction, right? So we're giving you a better deal. If your client demonstrates acceptance of responsibility through his allocution, through the statement to the court, adherence to the provision of this agreement, and if your client doesn't do any of this, there are repercussions. We can withdraw and all the things. Now, Ray Epps has no criminal conviction, so they're not adding any criminal history points. They say, here is the estimated guidelines range. Now, with all of those modifications, they say, based upon the estimated offense level, your client, Ray Epps, his sentencing guidelines. Okay, so remember at the start of this segment, we talked about what the maximum was, max 1 year imprisonment. But no, they gave him a 2-point reduction. So the sentencing guidelines range is now 0 months all the way up to 6 months, which means they're basically just going to give Ray probation. 0 months, right, is what he's going to get, and I'll show you why, in my opinion. We'll see if it happens. In addition, the parties agree that pursuant to the rules, the fine range is $2,000 to $20,000, and your client reserves the right to ask the court to not impose any applicable fine. They say your client understands that none of this is binding. These are all just recommendations. The government and your client reserve the right to fully describe in writing the nature and the seriousness of your client's conduct, and we'll read that in the statement of facts. The court is not bound by this agreement or the sentencing guidelines. You know, this is just our plea. The court can reject the plea. Your client, Ray, acknowledges the government will not seek to change his release conditions. Okay, so they're not going to take him into custody. He's already free, so they're not going to change that. Venue, trial. You know, your client, Ray, if he takes this plea deal, he's going to waive his rights under the Constitution. If you agree to plead guilty, you can't also exercise your right to a jury trial. So he's given that up. Same thing with an appeal. You're agreeing to plead guilty. Nobody found you guilty, so there's nothing to appeal. Taking this plea, your client waives the right to appeal. Saying your client consents to appear by phone. The government will be free to use evidence against your client. And look, restitution. How much is Ray Epps going to have to pay? Well, we know that the damages was only $2.9 million, a small cry short of the billions that we saw during the Summer of Love. But nonetheless, Ray Epps has to pay $500. Oh man, that's a lot. Probably going to have to lay off of his multi-million-dollar RV fill-up. It's like 1 tank of gas. If your client breaches this agreement, there will be consequences. This is the complete agreement. There is nothing outside of this document. If they are satisfactory, Ray's lawyer, send them to your client. If he agrees with this, and if he agrees with the second companion document, the statement of the offense, then sign them both and send it back over to us. And this is what they say, right? So the attorney would say, yes, I agree, Edward. And Ray Epps would say, yes, I agree, here. And so that was the original filing. Now, obviously, they did accept it because they took the plea today. But this is the statement of the offense. Now, this is the conduct that they're alleging Ray Epps was involved in. And we've got photographs in this. Look at this. They're walking us through it, including the whisper. So let's see what they say. They say, pursuant to the rules, the client has taken a guilty plea, and he agrees that the following things have happened. Back in January 2021, we know that the Capitol was being secured. They say the exterior was closed. There was a joint session in Congress. Pence was presiding over the Senate. The crowd was not lawfully authorized to enter the building. Certifications were underway, and it cost $2.8 million in repair. Same litany we've heard before. Now, how is Ray Epps involved? In the evening of January 5th, they say, Ray Epps, who just got charged with 1 count of disorderly conduct, even though he's also a former Oath Keeper. Many of the Oath Keepers got charged with seditious conspiracy. They're rotting away in prison now for a long time. And Ray Epps, none of that happened to him, of course. But they say in the evening of J5, Epps stood on Black Lives Matter Plaza. Isn't that ironic? So $2.9 million for the J6 Capitol. BLM riots in the Summer of Love in 2020 was over $1 billion by many estimates. And they gave them a whole plaza, which is just incredible. Meanwhile, the J6ers are being arrested, and Ray Epps was in BLM Plaza on January 6th, and he didn't get arrested either. He just got charged with an information. Anyways, with the crowd, what appears to be an impromptu rally, in response to people proclaiming their anger and a desire to fight Antifa and BLM, Ray Epps said, "Tonight you can bring shame on us. That's not what it's about." Okay, so they're saying Ray Epps was saying, don't fight Antifa. Don't fight. Another person challenged Epps. Oh, is this going to be a puff piece for Ray Epps? Oh, gosh. Another person challenged Epps. They said the American Revolution was sparked on taxes on tea. And Epps said, "We're far beyond that. In fact, tomorrow," I don't even like to say it. Here we go. "I don't even like to say it," he says, "because I'll be arrested." No, you don't have to worry about that. You didn't get arrested. You're good, man. Say whatever you want. Adam Kinzinger and the entire media love you. He said this, "We need to go into the Capitol," capitalize. "We're here to defend the Constitution." I'm going to put this out there. "I'm probably going to jail for it." No, you didn't. "Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol, peacefully." Epps' speech was recorded, broadcasted all over the place. We played it multiple times. Here's the clip. This guy, "into the Capitol." Screenshot from his video. Now, the next day, Epps was there wearing a beige shirt and a desert camouflage pattern long sleeve brown backpack. He had a red Trump baseball cap on. He attended the Stop the Steal rally. There, Epps was recorded telling one group of rally goers, "As soon as the president is done speaking," Ray says, "we go to the Capitol. The Capitol is this way." "As soon as President Trump is finished speaking," says Ray, "we are going to the Capitol. It's that direction. That's where our problems lie." Before Trump's speech concluded, Epps, among many others, left. At 12:52, Epps and the vanguard of the rioters reached the Peace Circle, where they encountered bicycle racks and mesh fencing, both bearing area closed signs. Now, these bicycle rack barricades and the mesh fence were guarded by a small group of Capitol Police and Metro Police. You see, this is the area here. The stymied crowd grew increasingly agitated and confrontational with the small group of police officers. One member of the crowd, wearing a black t-shirt over a white long-sleeve hoodie and a red "Make America Great Again" hat, Ryan Samsel, this guy, later identified as him, started shaking the security barrier, and he turned the baseball hat around backward while yelling at the police. And guess what? Epps approached Samsel and spoke in his ear. Now, they say in a separate consensual FBI interviews, both Epps and Samsel stated that Epps said something to the effect of, "Dude, relax. The cops are doing their job." So Epps here was saying, "Dude, relax. The cops are doing their job. Relax." Even though he was saying, into the Capitol, like that day before, and he's marching people to do that. They get right up to the moment, and then suddenly he turns around and he says, "Oh, relax. The cops are doing their job." Now, if you want to look this up, Ryan Samsel has actually changed his story. All right. Now, they're failing to mention that, but Ryan Samsel has said a couple different things. So I'm not real sure that Ryan Samsel is all that credible, to be perfectly clear with you. But the point is, they're not telling you the other side of this. Okay. Ryan Samsel has said that something else was said, but they didn't mention that. So here is the whisper. Seconds later, at 12:57, Samsel and others surged forward, destroying barricades and overwhelming the police officers, and Ray Epps was standing right there. Man, he was right there. A flood of other rioters, including Epps, of rioters, including Epps. Wow, he stormed through the downed barricades? And Ray Epps breached the first line of defense for the Capitol grounds, and he entered the restricted area. There he is right there, running in with the crowd. And I'm sure they knew this a long time ago. I mean, he was one of the first people on the FBI's most wanted list as a violent offender. So why did all of the other J6ers get charged a long time ago, but now they're just getting to Ray Epps? Very convenient, isn't it? Maybe it's because all of the other major cases are now done. So a short way down the path, the group of rioters, including Epps, encountered a second set of barriers. Well, why didn't he leave? Here's Ray Epps right there. He certainly could have turned around, right? Kinzinger said that so according to Kinzinger and Cheney, okay, Every other person in this picture is an insurrectionist, anti-democratic murderer of Capitol Police. Every single person in this shaded area, right? Except this guy. Now, it's always weird how that happens. I don't know how that happens, but that's just what they say. So Ray Epps is there, and they say other rioters toppled those barricades too. They and Epps continue to penetrate the restricted Capitol grounds. Epps and a large group of other rioters then made their way to the West Plaza, a restricted area on the Capitol grounds just outside of the Capitol building. Just outside of the building. Lines of uniformed Capitol Police and Metro Police officers, many of whom were wearing riot gear, mostly succeeded in physically blocking the rioters, including Epps, from further advancing on the west side of the Capitol. And here you see, this is a screenshot showing the police line. And don't know if Ray Epps is in the crowd, but presumably he is. Meanwhile, an unrelated group of rioters wheeled an all-metal Trump sign, which was measured 8 feet tall by 10 feet wide, from the ellipse to the south end of the West Plaza. Once the group arrived with the metal Trump sign, the rioters gathered at the West Plaza, lifted it up overhead, passed it northward, as if the sign was being crowd-surfed. And we've seen this before, right? Here is what the sign looks like. Trump 2020. It's a big sign. And Ray Epps has his hand on it. When the sign reached the middle of the West Plaza where Epps was standing, rioters worked together to turn the sign approximately 90 degrees and began pushing it towards the line of officers standing between the rioters on the West Plaza and the Capitol building itself. Epps briefly placed both of his hands on the sign's fabric or frame. That's assault on an officer, my friend. Pushing that towards the police line. There's Ray Epps right here. Look at his hand right here. Right there. Boom. Here's the other one. Touching this sign right here. Shoving the sign into the cops. Insurrecting all of our country. At 1:40 p.m., other rioters successfully pushed the sign into a group of police officers, violently attacking them. The sign's size and impact broke this and scattered the police line, right? So Ray Epps was there, a part of this operation. He's literally right there. Shattering not only the first breach, but the second breach as well. This is the government's own motion, okay? This is what they're writing. And do you know why they're writing this? It's because they're immunizing him for all of this. They are immunizing him via the plea deal. They want to include everything. In case somebody asks questions about it, Ray Epps wants to be completely covered by the plea deal. They didn't charge him for this. They didn't charge him with assaulting an officer or anything. Disorderly conduct. Okay, we have Proud Boys who are going to prison for over a decade for conduct less than this, in my opinion. The officers managed to wrest the sign away from the rioters and move it out of their reach. One Capitol Police officer who was a part of that police line described the sign's frame as so heavy that it took 15 officers to carry the sign away from the rioters. Now, while the officers were occupied with the sign, a group of rioters, including Epps, pushed forward, leaning their bodies on each other. Epps doing what he said he was going to do. Into the Capitol, into the Capitol. Police officers responded by deploying chemical spray on the rioters in the front of the scrum. The rioters, including Epps, immediately fell back and dispersed after he got popped with chems. Epps remained on restricted Capitol grounds for a little over a half an hour longer. Video evidence shows that during his time on the Capitol grounds, indeed, both before and after his participation in a sign push above, Epps made at least, here's what they say, 5 attempts to de-escalate conflicts between other rioters and police officers and prevent rioters on the West Plaza from attacking police along their defensive line. That's what they say, even though he just breached two lines. Okay. Epps received a text message from his family member telling Epps to, quote, be safe. Epps responded by text. Here's what Epps said. I was in the front with a few others. I also orchestrated it. Okay. If you're a Proud Boy, or if you're not Ray Epps, that would make you a part of a conspiracy, wouldn't it? And Ray Epps, as we know, was a former Oath Keeper, literally. I have the video of him walking hand in hand with Stewart Rhodes. So if he's former Oath Keeper, he's also on restricted grounds, he's also attacking police officers, he's also admitting in text messages that he openly orchestrated it. Is disorderly conduct just enough? As set forth above, although Epps did not enter the Capitol building, and that's what, I still have doubts about that. Epps knowingly entered restricted Capitol grounds and while there acted in a disruptive and disorderly way to interfere with the official functions of the Capitol Police. And I always have doubts about this, okay? As set forth above, although Epps did not enter the Capitol building, he knowingly entered restricted Capitol grounds. And just to be clear on this, let me just pause on this and pull this up. And it's Ray Epps' deposition, and it is... Let me see if I can just get the PDF, because of course it's not pulling up right now. And the Ray Epps deposition, if you actually read it in its entirety, let me see if I have it over here. Or I'll pull it up. If I can't grab it in 2 seconds, then we'll pull it up later. But all right, so we'll go back. We'll pull it up later. But the actual deposition, it's so poorly conducted that you can't tell. And they asked him such bad questions that you just really can't tell what's happening. Anyways, shortly after leaving the Capitol grounds, Epps gave an interview to an unknown individual, which was recorded. Epps assented to the interviewer's statement. So here's what somebody else said about Epps. So you're saying you were marching down there, and it's one more thing that we as patriots can do to show those elected officials, look, we didn't just come out here to jump around and yell and scream. We came here to be visible, and we came here to make a point. And that's right where you are, right? That's exactly what you're saying. You want these guys to know, right? On January 6th, the FBI posted online a number of photographs of persons of interest who were involved in violence at the Capitol, which we made mention of many times here. Photograph number 16 depicted Epps speaking to Samsel just before Samsel breached the crowd. This is the tweet. Photograph number 16, Ray Epps, violence at the Capitol. 2 days later, on January 8th, Epps called the FBI tip line, and this is why they're saying he got a good deal. He identified himself as the person. In that same call, he gave a lengthy consensual interview about his activities. He said that he admitted, right? So he's saying, I admitted I stopped the steal. He admitted to observing other rioters tear down barricades and confront police. So he just spills his guts. Then his attorney, on March 3rd, 2021, they did a follow-up interview. During that interview, Epps identified himself in a bunch of photos. He then stated words. When word started to spread that rally goers were going to the Capitol, he decided to help spread the message and that he wanted to be in the front of the pack. During his interview, he understood that he was trespassing, and while he intended to enter the Capitol, he did not intend to break in. His goal was to walk into the front door and let them, the lawmakers, know what Trump supporters think. Guess what? That's what many other J6ers thought. And there are videos of them tapping on the door, tapping on an officer's shoulder and letting people come through the door. So they walk us through the elements of this so-called offense. Ray Epps knowingly and voluntarily admits all the elements of disorderly conduct. They say Ray Epps admits that he knowingly and with the intent to impede and disrupt the orderly function of government entered restricted buildings and grounds, knowing the vice president would be there. All of this respectfully submitted by Matthew M. Graves. Signed off on by the attorney, Michael M. Gordon. And so this is the deal. Ray Epps will be immunized for all of this conduct, all right? And he's not going to be charged for anything. That's why they filled this up to the brim, just to make sure it's all encompassing. And that is what happened in court. Now, there were a couple items of release conditions, very minor things here. We'll just show you. They say that Ray Epps, it is ordered that he must not violate the law. He must cooperate with the DNA sample. They say the defendant here must advise the court if he's changing his residence. He needs to appear at another date and time. They say Ray Epps, he's got a couple things. Submit to supervision and a supervision report by the probation people. Surrender his passport is something he's got to do. currently, not obtain a passport, and not follow the restrictions on personal travel. We can't see what those are. No firearms for Ray Epps, not possess a firearm as part of his release conditions, and stay away from the District of Columbia unless for court or pretrial business or to meet with counsel. Can't go back to DC. So all of this was waived and signed off on. The defendant has been ordered released. This was all signed off on by the judge, Judge Boasberg. And if there's violations, there will be repercussions for that. He has been released on his personal recognizance, so not in custody, not having to post a bond, nothing like that at all. And all of this was done via Zoom on September 20th, signed in on by the judge. And so that is Ray Epps. Pretty simple plea deal. And we know that there are some serious questions about this. Merrick Garland was in front of Congress, and we've heard this clip from Thomas Massie talking about this real big problem that we've got with this entire investigation. How many federal agents were in the crowd? Why don't we know the number? Why are there double standards in justice? Why does Adam Kinzinger say that Ray Epps is a hero, but all the other people are insurrectionists? Ray Epps gets no jail. I'm going to guess he gets probation. And the reason I think he gets probation while we're here is because the next sentencing proceeding is going to happen on December 20th at 10 a.m. But they've also waived their appearance in person at that hearing, which means the judge is just going to say, you get probation, right? If he was sentencing him to jail or something like that, or to a term of prison, he would be taking him into custody at that time. The fact that they're waiving this means he's not going into custody. So the question is, why these double standards? Maybe Ray Epps was not a Fed. Maybe he was not a federal agent on their payrolls or as a bona fide CHS, but he was somebody who committed a ton of conduct that was similar to or worse than many other J6 defendants. And he was involved with the Oath Keepers. He was there telling people to go into the Capitol. He was part of a violent onslaught, according to the FBI agents who identified him at the first place, but he still gets a better deal than other people. And the question is why? We want to know. Thomas Massie wants to know too.
You're citing the Constitution. I'm going to cite it. It's our constitutional duty to do oversight. Now, in that video, that was your answer to a question to me 2 years ago, when I said how many agents or assets of the government were present on January 5th and January 6th and agitating in the crowd to go into the Capitol, and how many went into the Capitol. Can you answer that now?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh, last time, you don't know how many there were, or there were none?
I don't know the answer to either of those questions. If there were any, I don't know how many. I don't know whether there are any.
I think you may have just perjured yourself that you don't know that there were any. You want to say that again, that you don't know that there were any?
I have no personal knowledge of this matter. I think what I said the last time.
You've had 2 years to find out. And the day, by the way, that was in reference to Ray Epps, and yesterday you indicted him. Isn't that a wonderful coincidence? On a misdemeanor. Meanwhile, you're sending grandmas to prison. You're putting people away for 20 years for merely filming. Some people weren't even there yet. You got the guy on video. He's saying go into the Capitol. He's directing people to the Capitol before the speech ends. He's at the site of the first breach. You've got all the goods on him, 10 videos, and it's an indictment for a misdemeanor? The American public isn't buying it. I yield the balance of my time to Chairman Jordan.
May I answer the question?
So that is Merrick Garland, and he, of course, is not going to give us any answers to any of that. So Ray Epps goes and completes a plea deal. No jail time coming for that. We'll see what the sentencing looks like. If there is any jail time, that's when we'll see it on 12/20. I hope you join us and subscribe as we get to that one, my friends. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for checking out robertgovea.com, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, and so now, let's take a look at what's happening here. Lin Wood, a former Trump ally, former Trump attorney, has flipped, now working against Trump. And I was a little bit curious about this, wasn't sure if maybe Lin Wood was just really this neutral witness who might not be a good witness for the government, but maybe not a good witness for Trump or whatever. But I took a look at this, and remember that in Georgia, they released the grand jury report, and they told us about the votes for people who were not ultimately indicted. Lin Wood was not indicted in Georgia, but the votes for Lin Wood were not real good in his favor. When we went through this on a prior video, we talked about the votes and how people voted, and Jenna Ellis, for example, got charged. Remember, there were 20 yay votes for her. One person voted nay, 0 abstentions to vote to indict Jenna Ellis. She got charged. 20-1. Same situation for Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows also got indicted. David Schaffer, indicted. Same story here. 20-1. 20 yays, 20 nays. But when we look back down here to Lin Wood, look at those numbers. Lin Wood, 20 yays, 1 nay. And the question is, why did Lin Wood not get charged? We know that Lindsey Graham did not get charged. He had 13 yays to 7 nays. No charges for him. He's obviously a sitting senator. You could see why maybe that would happen. But what about Lin Wood? Sidney Powell also got charged, and Lin Wood was in the same orbit, talking about a lot of the same things. So 20 yays, 1 nay for a vote to convict, and Big Fani did not do it. Why is that? Well, it's probably because Lin gave her something very, very good for her. We'll take a look at the motion where she actually referenced that. But a little bit of the backstory here. Adam Klasfeld had a story on this one, and Lin Wood is denying the flip. They say, hours after publication of our story this morning, Lin Wood confirmed, yes, he is going to be a state's witness after receiving a subpoena to testify in Sidney Powell's case, but he denies that he has flipped. Here's the story over from TheMessenger. He is a once prominent defamation lawyer who represented a bunch of people. He surrendered his law license, and now there's stories and rumors that he may have flipped. They say one of the most visible purveyors of the election debate was Lin Wood. He represented the parents of a bunch of people. In July, Wood surrendered his law license. Now many people are trying to estimate why. Might be because he's showing up as a witness for the state. Now we'll take a look at this filing here in a minute. But hours after publication of the story, Wood confirmed on his Telegram social media account that he did receive a subpoena to testify in Georgia. Sidney Powell spearheaded the Kraken lawsuits, which turned out to be mostly nothing, and Wood denied that meant that he flipped. The revelation first surfaced in a notice, which we'll read through, about a couple lawyers. This guy is named Harry McDougal. He represents the Trump DOJ, former Jeffrey Clark. McDougal once served as co-counsel for Powell and Wood in another lawsuit, and so now they're saying there's a conflict of interest. They say the Center for Renewing America responded to accusations with this meme from Starship Troopers, for whatever reason. I did not have a Lin Wood flipping on my bingo card, says other people. Wood strongly denies that is what took place. So I went over there to Lin Wood's Twitter account, or Telegram account. Lin says, I have been subjected to a barrage of Mockingbird media requests this morning to comment on stories claiming that I flipped on President Trump because I've been subpoenaed as a witness in the Powell case. He says there are no truth to those accusations. I have no idea why I'm being asked to testify at trial. I have had no discussions with the DA's office since I testified before the special grand jury several months ago. Strikes me as yet another effort by the fake media to attack or to smear me. Fake news is fake news, always has been, always will be. Enjoy your afternoon, and God bless each one of you. And when I went over to his Twitter Telegram account today, there was a lot of that, and he was also saying, things like this. The light was turned on today, and the anti-Trump rats, he says, are scurrying. A rat is difficult to see in the dark, but you can spot them when the light is turned on, right? He's using some colorful language there that we don't endorse. I would never turn on President Trump. I support him unwaveringly, 117%. But I am willing to be used to turn the light on to identify and expose them. Just saying, Lin Wood, fight back law. So he's saying that, the lefties are freaked out. That's why they're coming after him. I'm not so sure about that. I think that maybe they're onto something. And the fact remains is that he was not charged for some reason. Okay, everybody else was charged. Schaefer, Ellis, Mark Meadows, Sidney Powell, but he was not. And so a lot of people reached out to him on the media. This one came in. Howdy, counselor. Any comment on this revelation that Fani Willis wants to use your testimony against Sidney? And a follow-up, if you're successfully subpoenaed and forced to testify, would you answer the DA's questions if you thought that they might harm Trump? Do you intend to fight the subpoena? Would it be accurate to say you are pro-MAGA? Thanks. This person's Colin K. from Law and Crime. He says, any comment why you're being subpoenaed? I do not know why I am being subpoenaed. Okay. He says, and I think that was the only answer on that one. Then another one came in. Hello, Mr. Wood. I'm with the Epoch Times. Are you being subpoenaed? Can you provide more details other than what you've posted? No, I have not flipped on President Trump. I have no idea why I'm being called as a witness in the Powell trial. I have no firsthand knowledge concerning the criminal case as it is being described in the media. And he also said, in response to Newsweek, hi, I'm a Newsweek reporter reaching out about Fani Willis's investigation. Is this also why you retired your bar license in July prior to the indictment, right? So maybe Lin Wood had a deal with Fani to say, don't charge me. I'll give up my law license. I'll retire from the practice of law. I'll give you whatever you need. Don't indict me. And she didn't indict him. Maybe because he's turning. He says, my retirement had nothing to do with the DA's case in Georgia. I don't know why I'm listed as a witness. So you can make your own decision on that. Take it for what it's worth. I think there's something very fishy here due to the fact that he did not get charged and everybody else did. We also know that Fani is including in her motions the following. Here is what this looks like. So this was filed 9/20, Superior Court, Fulton County, State of Georgia. This is the State of Georgia, Big Fani, and she's notifying the court about conflicts of interest. Okay, and the other attorney we just heard about was Harry McDougal. And so they say here, the Georgia rules of professional conduct say that lawyers shall not represent or continue to represent other clients if there is a conflict. You can't represent, for example, two defendants who are pointing the finger at each other. Like, no, I didn't rob the bank, he did. I didn't rob the bank, he did. If you have the same lawyer who's representing both of those people, could be a pretty big problem. They say here, we have noticed that we want to notify the court of these conflicts and that we've brought all these cases, we've conducted many interviews, and in the following months, we know this happened, right? They're giving us some background here. Now, we'll just fast forward across all of this and just jump down to Lin Wood's stuff. They identify the conflicts and they tell us that here, Harry McDougal filed an entry of an appearance in this case, but he previously represented Lin Wood. So the lawyer who is representing Jeffrey Clark and Lin Wood previously represented these other people in this case versus Kemp. And so they've worked together on other cases. And here, let's see. There we go. The state is not attaching the complaint. They say here, Lin Wood and these people, Victoria Townsend and others, are witnesses for the state in this case. Sidney Powell are defendants in this case, and McDougal also represented and was co-counsel to Lin Wood. So we've got lawyers representing other people, and it just creates this conflict. They say Lin Wood is a witness for the state in the present case. McDougal's former clients and co-counsel would be subject to cross-examination by him were he to remain counsel of record in this case. So lawyers are going to be asking their former clients cross-examination questions, and it's going to create a conflict. So Lin Wood, according to Fani, is a state witness in the case. Now, if you want to give Lin Wood the benefit of the doubt, you could always say, well, maybe they're dragging him in there and he's not going to be a good witness for the state. He could show up and totally exonerate Trump, whatever, if you believe that. Now, I have a doubt that that's going to happen. Why? Because he was not charged in this case. There's probably a reason. He probably got a benefit for this. Sounds like he gave up his law license for whatever reason. Very also interesting. not challenging the subpoena, has no idea why he's showing up. And of course, he'll be there, I'm going to guess, when he's called upon. So feels to me like there's something fishy going on there. He, of course, denies it. You can be the judge and come to your own conclusions on it. But in my opinion, feels like Lin Wood flipped on Trump. And we'll continue to cover as this case goes on in Georgia. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, my friends, and now we've got this guy again. Oh, gosh. Elvis Chan? Again? Yeah, he's back. We're going to break down what happened here. FBI agent Elvis Chan, the man who is saving America by censoring us from dangerous misinformation, well, he is with the FBI. He was scheduled to testify in front of Congress. They had him on the calendar, and he didn't show up. He ghosted Congress. And now we're trying to figure out what happened because he was involved with a ton of the censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop, suppressing free speech during the 2020 election, misinfo this, disinfo that. We know this guy. We want to hear from him because he was covering up a bunch of the Biden criminality on behalf of the deep state. Well, he was supposed to testify for a deposition in front of the House Judiciary Committee and did not. And so they explained exactly what happened, why he did not show up, and they issued a new subpoena for his booty. Here is what the judiciary tells us happened. They say, look, all right, we send valid subpoenas from Congress and the committee needs answers, but the FBI continues to stonewall them. No amount of lies and excuses are going to stop us from deposing Elvis Chan. The American people deserve to know what happened. Now, they give us a refresher on this, but we know Elvis Chan was colluding with the social media companies to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story. He's lied to us, in my opinion, about this several times, including in his deposition. And they tell us in November 2022, when Republicans won the House, Congress notified the FBI, we want to talk to Elvis. On January 17th, after the start of our Congress, we sent another letter to the FBI telling them, make Elvis Chan available. They claim they didn't know about this until March 2023. Long time. They say you can take a look at the letters and read for yourself. Now, as a courtesy, the committee permits the government witnesses without personal counsel to come with agency lawyers so that they don't have to go hire their own lawyers. But if the government witness has a personal lawyer, then the rationale for this accommodation no longer applies. Okay, so if you go hire a lawyer, you don't get an agency lawyer. If you don't hire a lawyer, you get an agency lawyer. It's kind of like a government-appointed lawyer. The committee's protocol has been clear. The witness may appear with agency counsel or personal counsel, but not both. Simple enough, right? They sent this email from somebody on Tuesday, January 31st, 2023, to FBI.gov from the House of Representatives. Subject, interview of Jill Sanborn, who used to work at the FBI, may still be there, or DOJ, one of the two. Hi, somebody. Received your email below. This isn't exactly correct, okay? Witnesses appearing for transcribed interviews can attend with personal or agency counsel, but not both. You get one. It's up to the witness, so pick one. Happy to discuss. Best regards. Call us. Pretty easy. Pretty obvious. They should have known that. Now, there is strong precedent behind this protocol, which we'll fast forward through. There's good reason to do it. The committee has scheduled and conducted dozens of interviews with current and former DOJ personnel. It's been following this rule for a while. Now, after months of stonewalling, the committee authorized a subpoena, and we're going to compel this Elvis Chan to bring his butt there. Sure enough, the FBI reluctantly agreed on August 30th to have Elvis Chan appear, September 15th, and we're waiting for this depo. The FBI knew the committee's protocol since January, and for 2 weeks, they raised no objection. Yeah, no problem. We'll see you there. Yeah, it sounds good. Looking forward to it. Then 65 hours to the start of the interview, things started to get a little squirrely. Late Tuesday afternoon, the DOJ FBI told us for the first time that Elvis Chan had personal counsel and requested an exception be made to our protocols that he wants both agency and personal counsel. You're thinking, oh gosh, this guy. Well, part of the issue here is if you've got agency lawyers there, then the lawyer is probably kind of protecting the agency. And that might free you up to be personally liable. But if you don't want to bring your agency lawyer because you don't want the agency lawyer to protect the agency, then you bring your own personal lawyer to protect you. And then maybe you can dish out on the agency, right? So you can't bring both. Otherwise, what are we talking to you for? 47 hours then to the start of the interview. By Wednesday morning, the committee had spoken directly to Elvis Chan's personal lawyer. They said, hey, Chan may choose between an agency counsel or personal counsel, but he can't have both. Then 23 hours to the start of the interview. Thursday morning, the committee again follows up with Chan's personal lawyer. His personal lawyer says, hang on, stand by. The committee warns Chan's lawyer, a subpoena has been authorized, so we're not standing by for long. 22 hours to the start of the interview, on Thursday afternoon, Chan's personal lawyer tells committee staff, Chan will not participate in a voluntary transcribed interview under the protocol. Larry Berger, he sends a letter over to Congress. He says, good day, Mrs. Blank. My client, Elvis Chan, informs me that he will not participate in a voluntary transcribed interview with your committee if I, as his personal counsel, together with FBI and or DOJ counsel, are not both admitted to the interview. Respectfully, Larry. Sent to this person, copied to the FBI. We're not showing up unless we get all the lawyers. So Congress and discussions, they continue into Thursday evening. At 7:38, the committee again says, all right, look, Mr. Chan can have either agency counsel or personal counsel accompany him at the interview, not both. It is Mr. Chan's choice. He better be here. Sent and copied to the FBI, and Larry Berger. So they send that back over. Now 14 hours before the interview is going to start, Mr. Chan, his lawyer says, I will be present on behalf of Mr. Chan for the scheduled interview. What? We don't want to talk to you, Larry. Larry Berger. We don't want to talk to you. So he says, I'm going to show up. Mr. Chan, lawyer, states no mention of the DOJ or the FBI trying to force themselves to appear. The interview appears to be back on. That's not what I read. Less than 12 hours before the start of the interview, the DOJ writes to say that agency counsel will also attend. The committee says that it is not an option being offered and the DOJ should respect Mr. Chan's wishes to appear. So now the DOJ, they say, we're also showing up. And the committee says, hey, just to confirm, you dorks, that's not an option here. Mr. Chan has requested personal counsel, so we respectfully ask that you do not attempt to join. The chairman has authorized a deposition subpoena for next Thursday, which he has instructed us to serve should there be any issue tomorrow morning. Shout out to Jim Jordan. He says, look, if they're not here tomorrow, issue a subpoena. Love it. So Jordan authorizes it. Less than 90 minutes then to the start of the interview. The DOJ and the FBI say, we're coming. We're coming. And the committee calls and says, okay, well, they're not coming in the interview room. So they're not coming in. I mean, you can show up, but we're not letting you in the room. At 10 a.m., Elvis Chan fails to appear for the interview. Committee drops their subpoena. So now Elvis Chan gets another subpoena, and now he's compelled to appear before October 5th of this year. And let's take a look at the actual document. Here is what it says, coming out from Jim Jordan and the Judiciary Committee from Ohio. Dear Elvis Chan. And now look what's happening. See, they're copying both people. They've got Lawrence Berger, actually, this is his own lawyer now. He's still in the San Francisco field office. Mr. Elvis Chan. They say, all right, Elvis, the Judiciary Committee is conducting oversight of how and to what extent the executive branch has colluded to censor speech. To develop effective legislation, we need to know how we can handle social media companies and other content providers that deplatform users. And in order to do this, we must first understand the nature of your collusion and your coercion. As the primary liaison between the FBI and FITF, your FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force, you are uniquely positioned to aid in our oversight. But after your failure to appear for your scheduled interview on the 15th, you were issued a deposition subpoena compelling you to appear on the 21st. Based on the representations that the date of your deposition conflicts with the dates of your official travel, we'll accommodate you, Elvis. And we'll schedule a new date for you on October 5th. They say Congress has broad and indispensable powers granted to us by the Supreme Court. And the rules say we can do this. And so, that's what we've done. Accordingly, please find again a subpoena. Sincerely, your friend, Jim Jordan, Chairman of the Judiciary Committee. So this goes over to Elvis Chan, and Elvis Chan, we'll see if he shows up in October. Not sure that is going to happen. So that is from Elvis. Now, part of the issue here is the federal bureaucracy censoring people, keeping people from communicating their minds, from participating in free society. And when that happens, when people don't have a voice, people feel like their government is illegitimate. They feel like they are oppressed. They feel like they are being attacked. It's supposed to be a democratic republic with a representative type of democracy where the voices are heard. If the voices are silenced, people are not heard. If the voices are silenced, our government is not serving us. This is the point that Miss Victoria Spartz makes.
Attorney General, you had a very moving statement about your grandparents coming here from Belarus to live in the country without fear of prosecution. I grew up in a very similar country, Ukraine now, and when I came here as a young person, I believed in the value as an American not to be afraid of my government. But I wanted to tell you, and I want to share with you and get your thoughts on that. Are you aware that a lot of Americans are now afraid of being prosecuted by your department? Are you aware about that? Are you aware of that? I'm just saying, are you aware or not?
I think that constant attacks on the department and saying
No, it's
that...
not attacks. Well, let me give you an example.
I don't know
We talk about January 6th. People.
I'm sorry?
Here, there some people came on January 6th. There probably were some people that came on January 6th here, that had bad intent. But a lot of good Americans from my district came here because they are sick and tired of this government not serving them. They came with strollers and the kids, and there was chaotic situation because the proper security wasn't provided. That's a question that was answered really why. Why we debated for 45 minutes on the floor and didn't stop the debate after the people broke into the Capitol. But these people came, they were throwing the smoke bombs into the crowd with strollers with kids. People who showed up, FBI agent to people's houses. You had in my district, in my town, FBI phone numbers all over the district. Please call that. People are truly afraid. I just want to make sure if you're not aware that you are. And this is a big problem when people are afraid of their own government. And I'll share some other things. We're talking about justice system. I don't question, you're probably not a bad person. I don't know you, but what I'll tell you, you're in charge of the department. And people right now feel, I look at Durham report and I call on the FISA violations of queries of millions of Americans, right? It's like KGB, but when I read Durham reports, we have this, you have a nice, playbook. First, let's have a special counsel, and then you don't have to answer any questions here. Then,
exactly
let's
right.
extend
Protect
slow walk
themselves.
Investigation on Hillary Clinton, on Hunter. Everything is slow walked. We were very quick on Donald Trump, but you were very slow walked. Then, by the time, that investigation ended, statute of limitation expired, and all of your agents need to be tested for amnesia. No one recalls anything.
Nobody recalls anything.
You should have as part of your hiring policy. So no one held accountable, which was egregious what happened, in that report. When I read about them, I can't believe it happened in the United States of America. This is my frustration. I'll be honest with you. Then It's very interesting, regardless what it is, even people in Obama administration raise concerns. How can president's sons be serving on, corrupt Ukrainian oligarchs? Do you understand that it actually can undermine the one Ukrainian effort and policy? I think these concerns were raised. The Obama administration didn't do anything about it. These people are dying right now, and Americans don't trust this president. So I want to ask you one thing. I don't need answer because I know you're not going to, but I think you're probably a good American and you care. And a lot of these people are so afraid they cover up this stuff, I think, in your department because they're embarrassed that what we became as a country to say that what our Department of Justice became. That allows Russians to do propaganda in Chinese. It allows them to destabilize our country. That is danger to our republic. It is significant danger. And I have just one more question from you. I agree on corporate crimes and FISA stuff, even with Democrats, that we need to do a better job. One more question for you. Do you believe that, you talk about rights to vote, but do you believe that only U.S. citizens should be voting in this election and doing anything to make sure that only eligible people vote in elections?
Yes and yes.
Okay, I would like to see that, what you do. Thank you.
Good for her, man. Miss Spartz, man, she is absolutely right. What we're seeing here is reminiscent of communist era tactics. It is a horrific thing for people who have left that world to land here and see the same type of leadership, the same type of justice in her own doorsteps. So it's a horrific thing. Shout out to Representative Spartz for delivering that. And of course, we'll continue to cover, my friends. We'll see what happens if FBI agent Elvis Chan shows up for a depo or not. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for visiting robertgovea.com to sign up for our daily newsletter delivered to your inbox. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, my friends. Now, as that was playing, I was looking up the thing that I could not find immediately. And this document, by the way, this PDF file used to be a lot easier to find. I just type it right in, it would pop right up. You can't find this so much anymore, right? I had to actually dig this time for it, but I saved it so I don't have to do that again. But if you go down, this is the Ray Epps deposition, right? This is Epps, January 21st, 2021. Guess who was there? Shifty Schiff, Murphy, Aguilar, and Crying Adam Kinzinger, okay? These are the people who were here. This is why the questions were so bad. Scroll all the way down here. It's page 58, line 10. And we've covered this many times. Here, page 58. Ray Epps, question, right? We don't even know who's asking the question because these transcribers are such idiots. They don't even tell us who's asking the question. We don't even know. Question to Ray. How did the individuals you were talking to react? I don't remember. How long did you do this? Did you de-escalate? So like 3 questions asked in one sentence. Here's one question. Look at this. Question, Ray. So when it broke, the line, did you follow the crowd into, did you leave the Capitol? Question. So like a question 1, question 2, did you leave the Capitol? Tell us what happened once. Ray says, I took a couple of steps in. I took a couple of steps in. And I just looked around and I was sick. There was a lot of tear gas, a lot of bad stuff going on. So I started to leave. I heard somebody screaming for a medic, but at that point, I had my first aid kit. At that point, I went in. I went in. So to me, that sounds like he went into the building. Okay. Now I can't tell because I don't know exactly what he was asking about. How long were you walking back and forth? Did you leave the Capitol? Did you follow the crowd into where? Did you leave the Capitol? I took a couple of steps in. That reads to me like he went in, okay? I went in. I went up where I found an individual. He was lifeless. I knelt down on one knee. His heart was fibrillating. Another medic showed up. And we got all out of the way to the lawn down by the road. And we got all the way out to the lawn down by the road, right? That's when he leaves. So as far as I can tell, he went into the Capitol building by his own admission. And they keep telling us he didn't. So anyways, all right, that, my friends, is, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss that because I tried to squeeze that in this segment, but I missed it. But that is it for us on the day. FBI agent Elvis Chan gets a second subpoena. Hope to hear from him. Lin Wood, in my opinion, flipped. I don't buy his denials. We've also got Ray Epps probably getting no jail because, as we saw, 0-day minimum, 0-month minimum. And of course, we'll wait and see what happens there. But we looked through those documents. He's now immunized from all of the other misconduct. Question will be, will he testify? Time will tell. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you and to see what you have to say about all of this. Thanks to our friends over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Thanks to our friends on YouTube, our friends on Rumble. Appreciate your very generous donos on this lovely day. Let's see who is here. In the house, we've got this one from Cindy Banks kicking us off over on Locals. What's up, Cindy? Says, Lin Wood was a male mental from day one, speaking out of both sides of his mouth. Yeah, I remember having some questions about Lin Wood from the beginning, and I don't remember. It was so long ago. We had Kyle Rittenhouse was the other. Kyle Rittenhouse was the one that I think we got our first little experience with Lin Wood, and that was also the other guy who blocked me on Twitter. What's the other guy's name? The other guy, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. All right, Dolphin fan is the man. What's up, Dolphin? Bringing in 5 new membos. Thank you, Dolphin. So generous. Bringing in. Third proverb. We got Zancy Pelosi, Dustin the Wind. We got Roxanne and Tony Lee all coming in courtesy of Dolphin fan is the man over on YouTube. And so our YouTube members, don't forget to grab the Telegram link on YouTube. Go to the community tab section and navigate over there. We'll see it. Judge orders Trump to provide in-person testimony in the Michael Cohen lawsuit. Oh, gosh. Isn't Trump suing Michael Cohen? So they're making Trump testify there? Amazing. Hey, Dolphins man, 1400 is here. Not Dolphin fan, Dolphins man 1400 in the house. What's up, Dolphins man? Says, thanks for all your explanations every day. Been a member for 1 month. Thank you, Dolphins man. And the first month's the hardest. If we can keep you this for 2 months, usually we'll keep you around. And so thanks for joining us. And thanks for being a member. Appreciate that one. MAGA Hat Stays says, the Biden, John Pierce, that's the name. John Pierce, don't mind me, that's the name. Yeah, that little punk blocked me on Twitter, along with that other little punk, Peter Strzok. Losers. Biden admin taps ex-Intel officials who signed infamous Hunter Biden laptop letter to be on the DHS's expert committee. Yeah, that's right. We did see that, and the same liars who lied to us about the Hunter Biden laptop are also going to lie to us about whatever they're working on. Dr. Dab is in the house. What's up, Dr. Dab? Became a supporter. Welcome aboard. We do some fun stuff for our members. We do member-only streams in the morning. We do Saturday streams, and so we're looking forward to seeing you in there. Dr. Dab in the house. MAGA Hat Stays shared the Daily Caller article. Jameson says, I got a great case for you to look at. That sounds fun, Jameson. That sounds fun. Shoot it my way. We'll take a look. We got CF Rob is in the house. What's up, Rob? Says, what gets me is Jamie Raskin saying, leave that man alone. Okay, we'll leave that man alone, Jamie, and come after you politically. We'll come after the Democrats for their corruption. So you say, leave Ray Epps alone and investigate Jamie Raskin instead. Yeah, he'll get I'm sure he'll get investigated at some point. Maybe he'll get censured, just like Adam Schiff. Fred is here, says Wood screwed Rittenhouse out of $2 million donos. Man, yeah, I don't know, so, vet this information on your own, but that sounds like a lot of donos. Thanks, Fred, for the heads up. Horatio Spinelli says, may Anonymous be with you. May Anonymous be with you, and may Anonymous be with you, Horatio. Glenn Croy's in the house. What's up, Glenn? Says Tank Mosey. Oh, Glenn Croy is bringing in Tank Mosey. What's up, Tank? We got Laura W., Ryan E., Donna C., and Pi Squared all coming in thanks to Glenn Croy. Thanks, Glenn, for being a member, for bringing in new members. Much appreciated. We had this one from Ray K. Says, gotta love the Federal Bureau of Insurrection. Yeah, Fedsurrection. There was another one that I saw the other day that was quite good. I forget what it was. There's a bunch of them. Fedsurrection. I forget what the other one was. I'll have to think about that. Thanks, Ray K. Jigam says Ray Epps wasn't at J6. Lin Wood is an honest lawyer. Elvis Chan isn't hiding anything. Come on, man. It's only an illusion. On the count of 1, 2, 3, we all wake up. 1, 2, 3. Well, P.S. Miss Spartz rocks from Jigam Gigam over in the house. And Jigam shared this, we shared this magic trick on our locals community. If you guys, look, all right, you're about to have your minds blown, okay? Whatever you're doing, you're probably going to want to sit down as I reveal to you this incredible skill that I have. Ready? Here it is. Oh my gosh. Do you know how I even did that? Check that out. Oh, pretty fancy, huh? Well, I'm not going to tell you how I did it. The good doctor says, I hope Garland and others understand Miss Spartz. Garland's testimony can be summed up as contempt of Congress. Moreover, based on his testimony, Weiss can be incompetent or partisan, and he doesn't really care because he's staying out of it. Congress should impeach Garland and complete his mission. That's all good comments from the good doctor. Congress, it would be nice if Congress really did much of anything, but not going to hold our breath on that one. All right. We've got another one coming in from C. John. What's up, C. John? C. John's bringing in 5 new membos. We got so many membos. We've got Sweet Revenge coming in. For the Lulz is here. We got Silent Rage. We got Pete Harland. We got G-Gab also joining us in the house over on YouTube. Good to see you. Thank you, C. John, and welcome aboard, new members. We got B-Man's here. Says they were too nice to Garland. They should have subpoenaed Ray Epps and subpoena his phone and his bank records. Man, I like your style, B-Man. Just get everything. Go hard. Well, we'll see now. Ray's immunized, so we'll see if he will testify or not. I'd like to see him get served with a subpoena, and we could hear from him. I would have liked to have heard that back during the Proud Boys trial, along with other informants who were there in the crowd. But thank you, B-Man, for sending that one in. And of course, my friends, that is it for us on the day. We are going to leave it there. We're heading over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com to hang out for our members only after party. Almost forgot to check the X, which is where we're going to go right now. Thank you for the reminders on that. Sometimes I get a little carried away. And here is anybody watching? 4 people on X. Woo! It's crazy. Okay, so here's what we've got. A couple good comments. Faces to names, says Fred Petamonte. So this looks like it's Matthew Graves. We certainly know who Matthew Graves is. Leslie Wolf, I'm not sure on that one. Danny McWilliams says, as Ray Epps said, he did not go in on his plea. Can he be charged for that and this deal thrown out? If the DOJ or somebody wanted to retract from it, but I don't think that's going to happen. Ray Epps already said he was inside at one point. That's what I thought. We had this one from Esands. Says, what's up from Ireland? Oh my goodness, my friend. Shout out to our friends from Ireland. Says, I have to stay up very late to watch your shows, but I don't like to miss them. It is now nearly midnight. Keep up the good work. Shout out to Esands all the way in Ireland, man. Thank you for joining us. It always is. It's just awesome to think about that. Just to think about that. I'd love to come visit your country one day. Looks beautiful over there. I hope you're having a great evening. I hope you get to bed, get some good rest, and we'll see you tomorrow night. We got Pap Pup Mom. Says, I suspect that Lin was not charged because he went along with what seems like a CIA op like Q. He pushed those talking points and banked on it for months. Ooh, yeah, that's an interesting theory. Like Lin Wood is a poison pill that was put in here like a long time ago. Yeah. Yikes. Scary stuff. Interesting stuff. So shout out to all of our X friends. You can follow us over on X. We have a community now called Watching the Watchers on X, and you can join us over there. If you navigate over on Twitter, you can find this community. Click the join button and follow along. Robert Jackson's in the house. What's up, RP Games? And we're trying to get a little bit more posting done here, but we're having problems uploading the videos into this section. So We'll see. What About Me says, here's a win for the day. Rumble refuses the UK government's request to demonetize Russell Brand's channel. I saw that, man. Russell Brand is under attack right now from everybody. And Rumble has not buckled immediately, whereas so many other people have, because to them, the presumption of innocence doesn't matter. The allegations are all that matter, because it's not really about facts. It's about removing your opponents from the board, as we talk a lot about. So good stuff over there on X. And we are going to wrap it up right there, my friends. We got Pinochet says here, what's up, Pinochet says, what's the process for Congress to broaden the investigation to include Obama, Clinton, Comey, FBI, CIA, DHS, IRS, Mueller, Newland, Buck, Pelosi, and Wolf? Well, I don't think that there's really anything that they have to do. I mean, I think that Congress can kind of do whatever they want. I think Pinochet, you're probably thinking about this from the context of the executive branch. Like, this sounds like an executive branch question. So when Merrick Garland appoints a special counsel, for example, it's limited, right? Like, the order for the special counsel can only investigate a certain circumference of facts. Congress is not really like that. Congress is just saying, as long as it's like a legislative purpose, they can go and investigate whomever they want. And we've seen letters to basically everybody, right? We've seen letters to private citizens. We've seen letters to FBI agents. We've seen letters to CIA people. Everybody on this list, basically, we've seen letters to. Obama, we haven't seen. Clinton, we haven't seen. But they would have to want to do that. If they had a problem with Obama, like if Obama's, cousin shows up in Burisma, well, maybe they'll start looking into him. But it's a good question. Thank you, Pinochet, for sending that one in. And Wims is in the house. What's up, Wims? So what happens if Epps testifies and essentially exonerates the J6ers? Do they have any recourse? Yeah, they could. Hypothetically, if that were to happen, there's a concept in the law called post-conviction relief, so that if you've already been convicted of something, there are mechanisms by which you can reopen a case. So think about this way, for example, like, I'm not sure what Ray Epps would say that would exonerate, let's say, the Proud Boys, for example. They probably wanted to bring him in to testify just to sow seeds of doubt and to show the double standard, and they weren't allowed to do that. But there may be more there. Him being an instigator. They also had 50 other possible informants. Anyways, the point is, so like zooming out on this, if, let's say, you're just, charged with a simple DUI and you're convicted, you go to trial, you present your evidence. I didn't have anything to drink, and you lose your trial. And then 6 months fly by, and we learn that the police officer swapped out your blood sample. Okay, something like egregious. Swapped your sample out, which were zeros, with somebody else, which were twos, or whatever. Are you just screwed? No. There was a miscarriage of justice. So there's a process by which you petition the court through filings to reopen the case and correct the egregious injustice. So something like that would happen, mechanically speaking. Is it likely? Probably not, unfortunately. We got this one. MAGA Hat Stays is talking about putting alligators at the border. Would be one solution, one way to do it. And so we've got, thank you for sending those in, my friends. That is where we will leave it on the day. And so we're heading over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. Don't forget to sign up for our daily newsletter at robertgovea.com so you can get the summary of all the things we talk about delivered to your inbox. And you can check that out. And of course, check out our friends at fieldofgreens.com where you can get real organic superfood. You can get it and save 15% off with code Robert. It'll give you some good green energy, the good kind. You'll be bursting with it. And it's good stuff. So check them out. Fieldofgreens.com, code Robert. Also, want to shout out our mods and our meme smiths, our amazing friends who help keep everything nice and orderly here. Our friends, V Anticus Prime, modding down the fort for us and clipping hard for us. Thanks, V. K Bean, we got Just Cause. We got Playin' Hooky. We got Ronnie. We got Zulu. We got Beyond Geo. Our friend Zach Nichols. Shout out to John Allen's in the house. Janek. We got Dog Digger, Donut Mind Me, and John McGarvey, all keeping things nice and orderly. Our friends, Gigum Gigum, with our magic trick reminder. Thank you, Gigum. Our friend Sleepy Dog Lee on Twitter, and our friend Nathan, N810 over on Locals. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. That means we're going to leave it right there. We'll be back tomorrow, though, to do it all again, and it's going to be Friday, which is going to be a lot of fun. And so I hope to see you right back here tomorrow so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.